They said you were the best in the Parsec.
Welcome to
Parsec Passion, a podcast about Cassian Andor's TV show on Disney+. It's all a Star Wars TV show we talk here, and we're currently talking Andor. My name's Bubba, and with me as always is someone who looks like he got hit with Maarva's brick. It's Catfish. Catfish, how you doing?
Bubba.
Yeah.
I feel just as sad as Linus, sitting on the steps, having a drink. Everyone's abandoned him. Andor is over for the season and for God knows how long. Although you made a prediction last week, God knows how long it will be until we are back in this amazing, incredible show. It's getting so much. I'm so curious to see how it gathers momentum, which you've talked about. Everywhere I go, Bubba, I see it's like, this is the best streaming show. This is hilarious. That House of the Dragon and the Lord of the Rings show were like vying for best show. This is the best prestige show. It's the best Disney show. Our good buddy Matt Murdock, spoiler alert for his musical analysis, talks about how this is his favorite show, Disney show. So I'm just a little sad, like Linus, sad.
It's hard to remember because this has been a 10-week, 12-episode experiment.
Yeah.
But Andor moved, so it wouldn't be airing at the same time as House of the Dragon and The Lord of the Rings of Power. I still think it was smart, but what a great show we've had. It's incredible.
Oh, hell yeah. I definitely think it was smart. I think those shows should have stayed away from each other as well. What is the point of putting yourself head to head? Just get viewers.
Hey, listeners, we're going to be breaking down Andor Season 1, Episode 12, Rix Road. Cassian returns home to Ferrix, a tinderbox that is experiencing a spark of rebellion.
Oh, hell yes.
We're going to be breaking down this episode, celebrating this season. We're going to be answering your feedback. As Catfish said, Double M is going to be talking the music of Andor. We're going to have our Bounty Hunter Guild. And what else are we going to do, Catfish?
We are going to give away prizes, Bubba. Holy cow.
We can't wait. So we won't wait. Catfish, what is your rating out of 10 for episode 12?
I'm going to give this 9 triple M's out of 10.
Triple M's?
Yeah, that is Maarva's motivational declamations. I would say I loved it. I think the only problem with this, and maybe it's because they're like, oh, we're going to do 2 seasons. There wasn't enough coming together of the major characters, except for the only people who came together were Syril and Dedra. Luckily for her, bang.
Very, very tight quarters they came together. 9 out of 10.
Yeah.
Have you given anything this season a 10 out of 10? I mean, this is 9 out of 10 is pretty good.
I have given a 10 out of 10. I think and this is probably the only show I've ever given a 10 out of 10 to. And I think the only thing that could have helped a little bit more is if we saw Cassian's change a little bit earlier instead of packed all into this episode. Somehow the manifesto came back this week, and there were readings from the book of Red Shirt.
Nemec.
No, just kidding. But readings from the book of Nemec, and then Maarva's. You know, though, I have to say this: Maarva could do it for anybody. Maarva gave a great speech, got the crowd going. It feels like it had an effect on Luthen as well. I mean, it just got everybody, Bubba, and it was amazing. So, you know, we say like Maarva, she was getting all geared up, and then last week we're like, what did she do? Nothing. Well, color me completely wrong on that one, Bubba, because her death is the spark here. It's fascinating.
Yeah.
Fascinating.
Loved it.
So even though Obi-Wan, I don't know whether they'd started off planning to do 2 seasons or they decided to do a second season later, but at least Obi-Wan brought our big bads together. And we didn't really see that. Like I said, I mean, we spent this whole season accomplishing one thing. And that was getting Syril and Dedra together.
I was going to say getting them so close that they can't help but kiss.
Hell yeah. Team Syril is growing by leaps and bounds. Who cares what I think? What did you think?
Well, I don't think we've done this at all this season, but I honestly believe that this is the first time we're matching our rating. I'm giving this 9 out of 10 triple Bs.
Triple Bs?
Bricks, Bix, brains. We saw Maarva's brick, we saw Bix's Bix, and we saw the smarts that it took to take on the Empire and somehow escape. This was wonderful. 9 out of 10. I am going to go into the teeniest, and I mean teeniest bit of nitpicking to listeners. Remember, I'm telling you this is great, but I just want to kind of get this off my chest. Rogue One. We all know this television show is almost a prequel to that specific movie, Rogue One.
True story.
I saw Rogue One, and I thought the first 2/3 of Rogue One were okay. The droid, K2SO, was the only thing that really worked for me in the first 2/3. But I thought that final battle was, honest to God, the best battle we've ever had in Star Wars. Lucas, because of the story structure in the third movie he made of Star Wars, Return of the Jedi, he had this structure where he had the people on the ground in Han Solo and Princess Leia, and then he had the people in the spaceships with Lando, and then he had Luke confronting Darth Vader and the Emperor. And so he had these three things that he had to juggle. I think Rogue One juggled there are the troops on the ground, there's Cassian and Jyn Erso's mission, and there's a spaceship attack. I think Rogue One handled those three phases better than Return of the Jedi did. That's how much I loved the end of Rogue One. But it didn't really feel like it came together till the end. This series, oh my God, when everybody is getting ready for Maarva's funeral and you see everybody there and all the competing agendas, I loved it so much. So my nitpick is this buildup was worthy of a Rogue One final battle. We could have had a total Rogue One final battle, and I think it would have been worth it because the buildup was so great, the tension was so great, everything was perfect. I thought in the end everything was fine. As you say, because there's a season 2, it couldn't go the full Rogue One final battle. Obviously, it couldn't. Spoiler alerts for Rogue One. It couldn't kill everybody, but it was great. It was so great. There are little other things that I would nitpick. I wonder if you can go a whole season like this and not tell us why Luthen is battling the Empire so much. I don't know if you can go a whole season and not ever follow up on the inciting incident of Cassian looking for his sister, but those are teeny nitpicks. This was a great final episode. The tension, that marching band, hell to the yeah, boy.
Oh, and you know what? No, just a prequel. We might find out a little bit about why the tension was so good from the marching band from our quadruple M.
Well, I only know double M.
Murdoch's musical analysis.
Those are our thoughts. We've said it all season long. Our thoughts, they're fine. They're great. But who really cares? We want to know what you think. It's going to be a long only 2 years, we hope, until Andor season 2. So write to us and let us know. You guys have been great about giving us feedback. If you're on YouTube, go down in those comments. Give us a like. Boy, we love likes. But go down in the comments and tell us what you thought. Were you 9 out of 10? Were you 10 out of 10? Were you 15 out of 10? Were you 3 out of 10? Whatever, let us know. If you're not on YouTube, hey, please give us a tweet. Go give us an Instagram message. Give us a Facebook thing at double PHQ. That's the word double, the single letter P for podcast, HQ for headquarters, at double PHQ on Twitter and Instagram, facebook.com/double PHQ. Heck, I created a Hive social account at double PHQ. Somebody teach us how to use Hive. We want to know what you think.
Just to be safe, Instagram no longer safe.
Hey, let's do what we do every episode, Catfish. Let's get to those quick hits.
All right, here's some questions related to the episode. Here's my first one. I got the name down. It's Xanwan. So here's my question. Have you identified the Xanwan in your life? That is the friend that you can nonetheless cannot share secrets with. You're like, this person's my friend, but I can't tell him jack squat. Even if I swear him to secrecy, someone else is going to get this information. Bubba, everyone has one. Have you identified the Xanwan in your life?
Well, real quickly, remind our listeners who Xanwan is.
Okay, Xanwan is the guy who was working the radio. Cassian called him. He's like, don't show up, don't show up. He told him that Maarva was dead. And Cassian's like, oh, I'm coming. And so Xanwan, of course, meets with the dude that Cassian owes money to, and is like, whoa. The guy's like, whoa, there's no way he'd show up. And he's like, well, I don't know, maybe. And then, of course, the guy goes like, tell me no more. And then, because I don't want to know. But obviously, he's already told them. So Xanwan, horrible. I'm calling him, instead of Tattletale, now it's going to be referred to as Xanwan Tail.
Well, that is terrible. Who is the person like that in my life?
Yeah.
My boss. Like my boss, you would think within your department, you can be completely honest. You're like, oh boy, these idiots don't know what they're doing. What suddenly will happen now? A corporate email. Hey, we need a training session with your team because you guys may not know what you're doing. And I'm like, thanks for nothing, boss. He's the Xanwan in my world. How about you?
Oh, that's horrible. I have a friend of mine named Bob that it took me a long time to figure out. He just loved juicy stuff so much. He can't stop from sharing it with other people, even if they're people he's not really friendly with. He just loves juicy stuff. He is the Xanwan. Shh.
Man,
be quiet.
So good.
Bob Wan is around.
Look, I'm not saying Cassian's going to come back for his mother's funeral. But you notice that my eyes are winking, my fingers are crossed. I'm saying he's not coming while nodding yes. I mean, hey, good work.
Also, I'm not saying it, but I am saying it.
Right.
Here's number 2. This is a quick hit. So Maarva gets to, sometimes there are people that play music. There's a playlist. Maarva's got her own playlist, which is a rabble-rousing speech call to action. So I thought, Bubba, have you got a list of songs that you want played at your funeral? And if so, does anyone know what it is? Have you told anybody?
I have not told anybody. I really just want one song and one song only played at my funeral.
What is that?
We've only just begun. How about you? Do you have some classics? Let's hear it.
I do have a playlist that I really haven't shared with anybody, but in Spotify, it's called Funeral Playlist. So somebody could find it very quickly. It's got, among other things, there's, of course, you got to have They Might Be Giants Dead on it.
Oh, that's a classic.
I got some Cat Stevens on there.
Oh, yeah.
And also I have a great Jonathan Richman song called I'm Just Beginning to Live. It's very upbeat. So anyway, that's what I got there. All right, Bubba, what's our last quick hit?
Okay, our last quick hit, and this is one, listeners, we always say we want to know your feedback. You tell us your answer to this. Andor, season 1 was 12 episodes long. On the opposite end, the Obi-Wan Kenobi series was half this, 6 episodes long, and the episodes certainly weren't as long as the Andor episodes. Boba Fett was 7. The Mandalorian has had 2 seasons of 8 episodes. So you tell me, Catfish, which number of episodes do you prefer? Do you prefer a super short season like Obi-Wan, it's in and it's out, or something like this where Cassian, whereas it's 12 episodes and we can ruminate on all the fun and all the characters that we enjoy?
I just recently heard this quote, and I'm paraphrasing it here, from Roger Ebert saying, "No good movie is too long. No bad movie is too short." So basically, I'm going to cop out here and say the number of episodes, I just want a good, tight story told. Doesn't have to be super tight. It just has to be interesting. And I feel like Obi-Wan and Boba Fett didn't have enough story for even their limited number of episodes. And Mando had 1 or 2 that I was like, eh. And I just loved all this. I mean, you could see it in the ratings. I mean, I think I might have had 1.7 or something. I just universally loved this series. So sure, give me more if you got it. If you don't, give me less.
This goes back to our own podcasting history. Listeners, if you've been with us since the beginning, we always say we apologize. But the thing is, we started on Game of Thrones, and there were always 10 episodes. And so there's something about
that
number 10 that I did think, oh, this is perfect. It's really long. And even on Game of Thrones, there'd be times where people would say, oh, that feels like a filler episode. And I would, you couldn't deny it, that there were times like, okay, this was just about moving the chess pieces around. But I always thought 10 got you to a good place. So this went too further than a Game of Thrones season. And but obviously we can't complain about it. It was great. So I'm going to say 10. That's my personal preference. Listeners, what do you think? Do you agree with the late, great Roger Ebert? It's just got to be the right length for the amount of content. Or do you want something quick and in and out like Obi-Wan? Because that was in and out. 6 episodes, and they released the first 2 together, so it was really only 5 weeks. That was I'm here and I'm gone.
Well, but even then, I mean, we talked about not getting everybody together here. We had a fake out in Obi-Wan where we brought him and Darth together and then split them up in a way that was we had to kind of like go, oh, okay, sure. There was really just a lot of little Leia in that. Too much. Oh, man.
Little Leida. We'll get to little Leida in a bit. And our final quick hit question.
Yeah, tell me.
These haven't been that quick. We've been talking for about 3 minutes on each. But anyway, our final quick hit question is the one where I'm taking the L. I'm taking the L, listeners. I'm eating this L. Once again, the show is great, so I don't want to really sound like I'm complaining. But you set up Cassian's looking for his sister. He got into so much trouble because he's looking for his sister. Guess what Cassian forgot about pretty much after episode 3? His sister.
Oh,
we did
man.
it. We did it. So there's a segment.
You did it. You wouldn't let go.
Right. Even though Maarva told me to let go. So there's a segment we have called Cassian's Sister of the Week / Where the F is his sister. So Catfish.
Right. It used to be Who the F.
Right.
Now it's Where the F. Next season it'll be Why the F.
What's your answer to Where the blank is Cassian's sister this week, Catfish?
Now, Bubba, I felt like after all this, after Maarva told you not to, after you lost faith, you were finally redeemed tonight. I saw Cassian's sister. She was somewhere in that procession.
She was the one that Sergeant Linus Mosk threw his body in front of so she didn't get hurt in the explosion.
She was what I like to call a double S.
Double S?
Yes, second line sister.
We miss you, Cassian sister. We hardly knew ye, and that's literal. I mean, we really didn't know you. We saw you maybe 2 scenes, and then you're gone for good. Okay. Hey, we also love to talk about Andor news. And so, Catfish, this week, the week of the final episode, the week that this episode's suddenly going to appear on ABC and Freeform and FX and Hulu streaming service, this week they have begun shooting Andor Season 2. And the Season 2 filming, this is the new information. They started this week. This is the week of October 22nd in 2022. They're going to be filming Season 2 until August 23rd of next year, 2023. I love, dropping these little spoilers, Catfish, that you have been recently on a high-budget TV show filming Season 2 of that show. And have you ever heard of a season of TV filming from November to August? That is long. What do you think that tells us about Andor?
Well, it tells me that they are not shooting a lot of pages a day. I mean, when I used to work on hour-longs for network, they would have either a 7-day or a 9-day shooting schedule, and now these are a lot longer. I mean, the winning time shooting schedule is also longer than 7 or 9 days. I mean, they are really taking their time. Shoot maybe 4, less than that, pages a day. Whoa. So that's a lot of time.
Dang.
So this is more probably like Gilroy would be used to, about kind of like shooting a movie, just a little bit less.
This is 12 episodes of TV, so they're going to be filming for quite a long time. That's why we suspect, listeners, that we'll be seeing this show return to us in the fall of 2024. That seems so long, so far away. Oh my goodness, so difficult. Are you guys going to be able to put up with that long wait? Finish my sentence for me. put a comment where? Down in the YouTube comments. Tweet us how? At PHQ. How did you know this? It's like you've heard it every 5 minutes on our dang podcast. Thank you so much. Now,
Bubba, but now listen, this is our last episode of this podcast. I know listeners are going to be so sad that PHQ is not going to be on the air for a while.
Oh, if only. If only we were so lucky. That's right, listeners. We this week started up our coverage of 1899, that twisty show from Netflix, from the creators of the international hit show Dark. It's on Netflix. It debuted not even a week ago from the time we're recording this. Catfish, have you finished that 8-episode season yet?
Oh, hell yes, I have, Bubba. And I am so looking forward to the end of it. I will say this, Bubba.
Yeah.
I'm going to ask you a trivia question, which you probably know the answer to. What do the Disney Star Wars shows and 1899 have in common?
Well, they didn't use it too much here on Andor, but 1899 is using this piece of technology that they call the volume to build digital recreated sets. And so that's how, when the actors aren't standing in front of green screen, they're standing in front of giant 4K monitors, maybe 8K monitors that give them a background that that can move and interact with the camera lens to really make it look real. And so it's fascinating technology. And yeah, it's a fascinating show.
It truly is a fascinating show. I'll have to say, Bubba, I have seen a lot of shows with this kind of thing. In fact, I did mention, and this was after I saw the first episode, so it's not a spoiler, that it reminds me of this great movie with Susan George that came out years ago called Triangle. That is fascinating, but I have to tell you, Bubba, it gave me a different twist at the end of the season than I expected. Wow. Now, it's kind of a twist I have seen before in some other smaller movies, but nonetheless, it made me very excited for season 2.
So, guys, if you're on YouTube, it'll appear where all the other videos are. If you want to join us on our 1899 podcast, just go to Spotify, Apple Podcast, all the places you get podcasts, and search Double P Podcast, or you can search for Double PHQ and it'll show up as well. Catfish, since we did some trivia, I love pointing out Andor trivia. Now, a couple of weeks ago, we talked about a bit of trivia that nobody talked about. We talked about how Leida appeared on Game of Thrones season 8, and as well as Andor playing the character Leida, the actress, appeared on both. A lot of people think they're being real smart, saying, oh, did you realize that the Imperial officer who was in charge of Ferrix, who was dressed in all black, and he had a little cape in this episode, and he threw the cape over the projection of K2, he was also on Game of Thrones. He played the infamous Rhaegar Targaryen, who only appeared in flashbacks because his death 17 years prior to the show beginning is kind of what set off a lot of the Game of Thrones stuff. But yet another Game of Thrones actor appears in Andor. And in this show, he plays a big wuss. When the riot started and you see him crawling back with his tail literally between his legs to escape the riot, it was brilliant. I loved it. But that actor played Rhaegar Targaryen on the original Game of Thrones.
I don't want to spoil my feelings too much later on, but that character's real issue was with timing.
Right. Well, oh boy, yeah, I want to get to it right now. I'm like, it took him a long time to take off that cape. Is that what you're Dude.
I'm saying either do it before she gets the incendiary rhetoric or just don't do it at all.
I'm saying it's a bad use of a cape right there. Hey, let's get into episode 12.
Let's do it.
This show, once again, I have 9 out of 10. The opening music, we talk about how it subtly changes each week. This week, it wasn't subtle. That opening theme song was bombastic. My buddy Jar Jar would call it bombad. I mean, it was wonderful. Loved it.
Love it. All right. Well, Bubba, you're always asking me where to start. And obviously this week we have to start on Coruscant.
We do.
Let's get that out of the way. It's an appetizer.
So Mon Mothma and Perrin, we should have a drinking game where if they're in a car ride together, if they're in a speeder ride together, just take a shot if their relationship is icy. You will be drunk 2 episodes into Andor. And this, it took me about 10 seconds to realize what was happening. But Mon Mothma attacking Perrin. You're gambling again. How dare you gamble again? She is totally playing the spy chauffeur and making him think that Perrin is gambling again. Why? She needs something to cover up that missing money. She needs something to explain why in the world she's going to let her daughter meet with Davos Skulden's son. This is brilliant, Catfish. Brilliant.
I mean, the only thing that could be better is if she goes on another ride, this time with Leida.
Oh, no.
Leida, now I know you support the rebels, but this plan you have is very, very dangerous, and a lot of people could get hurt. Boom, bye, Leida.
Catfish, you're trying to get rid of Leida. Okay, well, well, hold on. Let's go a bit further. Here,
All right,
Leida, come get in the speeder
Leida?
with me. Leida, get in the speeder with me. Chauffeur, driver, please take us some way. Now, Leida, I was going through your room last night, and I noticed all these credits from Aldhani. How in the world do you have all these Aldhani credits? Who have you been hanging with?
Have you been stealing from my purse?
No. She can't say that. She has to make the Imperials take Leida and not her. She has to say, or wait a minute. Did you get those from your father? He was saying something about having friends on Aldhani.
Oh, my God. Yes. So good. And she's completely right, because later on, when the chauffeur meets with his contact, does he actually meet with
Yeah, he goes to ISB and he meets with a character named Blevin, who we haven't seen for a couple episodes.
Yeah, so he tells, and Blevin's like, oh, yeah, that's good information, because we have noticed that money is missing from our accounts. So perfect job.
I love it. He also thinks, boy, we can use this, to almost blackmail Mon Mothma. How hilarious. Love it. Now, Blevin can't talk to this driver too much. He gets pulled into a meeting. We see Partagast there. We see the undercover spy there, the spy for Luthen. And what do we find out? We find out that, Luthen and Saw Gerrera, they gave up this other rebel. We never really saw this other rebel except in a hologram once, this rebel named Anto Krieger. He and his crew, they were going to blow up something called Spell House. They got. They're dead. Now, one person who's unhappy about this is Dedra. She wanted prisoners caught so she could find access. She's going to have her own L at the end of the episode. So,
well, and she might have an L after the episode too, because I got nervous with her giving lip to Partagast that way in front of a full room of other people listening. She's getting, it feels like, I mean, I'm all Team Evil Dedra, but
were you going to say big for her
careful,
britches?
Girl. She's got to be careful. You know what? Another thing here is Blevin asked how many were dead, and the person says response. He says, I don't know. We're still counting. But Bubba, I need that count. This is still up in the air. Is it 30? Is it 50? Is it 300? I mean, I need that count. I feel like they've been really teasing us.
Well, hold on. Do you want the number Luthen gave to Saw Gerrera?
I know. That's what I'm saying. We got too many different numbers here.
I want to go back just briefly and touch on how the boys of the ISB are suddenly like, yeah, Anton Krieger's dead. And guess who's upset about it? Like they are this little mean girl talk behind Dedra's back. That was wonderful. I love it. Guess who's not feeling it? I mean, just so petty. I loved it.
All we needed was Blevin like rubbing his hands. Oh yeah, she's getting too big.
Okay, so finish off Coruscant for us, Catfish.
All right, so then we see Mon Mothma, Leida, and Perrin. The doors open. We see Davos Skulden and his wife, stunning-looking woman.
Oh boy,
his son,
that's funny.
Good-looking guy. What?
No, it's funny. We're such men. You noticed how pretty Davos' wife was too. I was like, oh, who's this tall stunner, man?
Yeah, well, but I also noticed that the kid was good looking. They're well dressed. They got money, and it made me think, Bubba.
Yeah.
Mon Mothma is playing a dangerous game here.
Oh yeah.
And even though to us it seems bad what she's doing with Leida, this might actually be the safest place for Leida. And I don't know whether Mon even thought about that. I mean, she is playing a dangerous, dangerous game, and who cares about Perrin? He'll be like a cockroach and survive, or he won't. He'll get his just desserts. But this is the best place for Leida to be in this situation, I think.
What was your read on Leida's reaction to this? Because call me crazy, I believe this is what I'm supposed to take. I thought I saw Leida smiling and almost happy, like, oh, okay, this is cool. She's young to get married, right?
It's interesting that you 14? Say that. Well, right, but there's a couple things. One is I really felt like, it's funny because I always remember when they had Dr. Zhivago and Omar Sharif, when he's looking at what's happening, it's a little over the top. And I remember he said the director told him, just be blank, and the audience will assume your emotions because they're seeing what you're seeing. So I don't know whether you thought, whether the other people of our listeners thought there was a smile. I just kept looking and looking like you did, and I didn't really get anything. But if she is really going to these old ways, she's probably cool with getting married at 14 and having an arranged marriage. But I was looking close to see if she was going to be sad about it, if she's going to be glad, and I just felt a very neutral feel from her.
Listeners, what did you guys think? I thought it was a smile. I thought she was like, I've been brainwashed into believing this stuff is good, and so I'm going to go with it. So yeah. Fascinating stuff. Any thoughts where Leida could go in season 2?
Straight to hell as far as I'm concerned.
Good. So mean. All right, Catfish. We really don't. I mean, we have a post-credit planet, but let's go to Ferrix. It is time to go. It is time to do it. Somebody's making a bomb. Somebody is making a dang bomb. Now, this character, he's kind of been in the background. I really don't know if he had ever really had too many speaking lines before. But just so you know, it was his buddy who ran the shop where the radio that Bix used was located. And so his buddy was tortured and killed and possibly hung up on Rix Road. And so we see him making a bomb, and it's like not good. But the good news is Dedra has come to Ferrix. She is there. She's landing at night under the cover of night. She's coming in with 2 dark stormtroopers known as Death Troopers by her side. What do you think about this, Catfish? It is on.
I was so excited about it. But first of all, she's so excited. She's like, the guy's like, you want some dinner? No, I am going to just take a little walk with me and Corv. No, thank you on the dinner. I don't like to fill up before dinner. Now, I like to have a little walk after dinner. But no, she's so excited. And Bubba, I was so excited too because I thought, ooh, she's on the planet. When is she going to bump into our boy Syril?
Oh, you knew it. You just knew. I'll say it right now. There's some people who show up at this event who I'm like, wait, who are you again? Meaning that guy who Cassian owed money to. But even Luthen showing up, I should have seen Luthen showing up, but for some reason I hadn't put 2 and 2 together about, Luthen will be there. Bix is in her cell. Brasso, who has been there the whole time. He was in episode 1. He's a good guy. When Cassian came back from searching for his sister and killing those 2 corpos, he went to Brasso's and said, hey, I was at your place last night. I did it. And Brasso's your boy. He is wonderful. He is great. But Brasso learns from this complete terrible friend that Cassian knows about the funeral. Cassian is coming to the funeral. Brasso, he's got his plans. It's going down no matter what. This actor I've grown attached to, I need Brasso to live somehow in season 2. I'm so excited. I'm just getting so exciting. This is building the tension.
Yeah, it is. And then, of course, as you said, the dude that Cassian owes money to learns that Cassian knows about the funeral from our boy Xantaltail. Horrible.
The worst.
Really bad. And then we see the Imperial spy and Dedra walk through town. Cinta is following them.
That's not good for you, Dedra. Cinta doesn't take L's. She takes lives. I was just going to say where you're saying. Cinta goes back to her apartment. It is still on. She's still, even though she sees all these Imperial spies, she knows, hey, they must think Cassian's coming. That means I got to be watching Cassian's house, Maarva's house, 24/7. And even Vel being back, the person she's in a relationship with, Vel has to almost use all her powers to get Cinta to turn around and look at her and not be focused on the mission.
Well, first of all, Bubba, this is very upsetting. She didn't pick her up at the airport. Okay, look, this is a big deal.
How is she going to afford that? She's working for tips.
You know, and trying to get a cab from the airport these days or an Uber or Lyft, there's surge pricing, but it seems to me like Cinta found a double F.
Double F.
Yeah, Ferrix fling. Because she's no longer showing the excitement. I mean, Bubba, there's only one way to describe Cinta's attitude towards Vel. Do you know what that is?
No.
Ice cold.
I guess it was. It was. Okay, and guess what?
Yeah.
Andor is back. He got back to the planet somehow, and he's already making his way through these tunnels that we heard Maarva talking about. And you know, when you're on your own and you're on a mission and you have a lot of high emotions, you know what happens. You have flashbacks. You remember things that make you remember stuff.
Yeah, he's sitting there stroking Clem's brick, thinking about Clem.
His father, who we never really saw this relationship, we couldn't. We saw Clem and Maarva find young Cassa as a child, and then in the present timeline, Clem's been dead for a while, hung up on Rix Road. So they're proving that is a connection. Cassian, you know you are the most wanted person in Ferrix. You keep dropping your hood when you're walking around town. Moron. He goes to Bix's shop because he wants to see Bix, and then he learns, guess what? Bix is being held captive. So now he's up to where we are as an audience.
Bubba, listen, I thought you'd be happy here. We got some doggo aliens. They look like one step below Gamorrean guards. So in my head, I called them the Dogorian dogs.
They are Carillion hounds. We first saw them in the movie Solo. And they just look hideous. You know how you always love pets? These are the pets you wouldn't want. I love it. But hey, it's not just a flashback to Clem. Guess who else I have to have a flashback and remembrance of? That's right, Nemik and his manifesto.
Oh my God, they are reading from the book of Nemik. He said, remember this, try. This is, Bubba, I wrote this down. This is the anti-Yoda manifesto. And I wrote this down, Bubba. I was making notes on this, and then I was reading around on the internet, and I saw some article where they really hit on this. I was kind of surprised. Like the difference
hit on the fact that Nemik is like, you got to try. And Yoda's like, for losers, trying is.
Yeah. Well, they also mentioned at this point, Yoda ain't trying jack shit.
Oh.
So at least these people are doing a good job. But so I noted that, and I didn't. It did hit some people even stronger than I did. They don't have the force, so try is the best they can do.
Catfish, you got me think of this. Remember the phrase that Yoda says is "do or do not." There is no try.
There is no try.
It's just during this part of the timeline, he's doing not. He's hanging out on Dagobah. Wallowing in his L. Oh, my goodness gracious.
Yeah, exactly. Thanks a lot, Yoda.
And I said this a second ago. I was so engaged that when Luthen showed up, I was like, what's Luthen doing here? But, of course, I was thinking, oh, thank God Luthen's here. The whole gang is here. If they could have found a way for Mon Mothma to present Leida to Davos Golden here on Ferrix, it would have been perfect. They're all together. I love it, love it, love it. Oh,
so good.
You know what else I love is in all these Star Wars movies, there's always a scene where the rebels go over their plan. Okay, we're going to go down the Death Star trench and we're going to shoot this torpedo into this 2-meter wide hole. Or it's, hey, we're going to fly our ships into the Death Star. Or, hey, we're going to do this, we're going to do that. Finally, it's the Imperial saying, okay, we're going to do this, this, and this. Love this show.
This is where I feel like Dedra makes her first Syril-like decision where she's like, no snipers. No snipers. I don't want this guy killed. And maybe she's worried about it, but I mean, snipers can wound. They don't have to automatically take headshots.
Listen, I've been trained for one thing. Luthen has a real sharp speeder bike we've never seen before. There's an odd moment that I don't think has any true payoff, is that the Imperial spy who's watching Maarva's house, he sees people coming out to go to the funeral with B2 Emo. And he's like, wait a minute. That's not Brasso's. That's somebody dressed like Brasso's. He's like, that's not Brasso. That's somebody else. So, oh well. Where is Brasso? He's down in the tunnel where he runs into Cassian. And
thank God Maarva he's like, I got a message from you from Maarva, and it's very detailed so you can get your thick damn skull.
Catfish, you have an issue with these messages. Wasn't it just last week where you were like, Cassian's like, please remember this message for Maarva. I miss her.
Yeah, but
like,
this was a good one because it was because it felt like it said all the things that Cassian needed to hear. So it's perfect. It is perfect. He says, the message was, tell him none of this is his fault. He will be an unstoppable force for good. Tell him I love him. Now, unfortunately, she goes on and he repeats I love him more than anything he could do wrong. So
not nice. Brasso and Cassian have a great interaction. Brasso tells Cassian, I'll take care of Maarva. You take care of yourself. Brasso's is my boy. I just love it, love it, love it.
yeah, it is so good. And then, oh yeah, the boys are back in town. Sergeant Linus Mosk and Syril Karn together again. You know, they're riding in on the subway. They're sitting across from each other. They're quiet. You know what it reminds me of, Bubba? The end of The Graduate. You know what I mean? They've just decided to make this huge leap together. They're on the bus. I don't know. It's tension. But I don't know if it's like Vel and Cinta's tension or is this more like sexual tension, especially with how sexy Syril looks in that ridiculous hat.
How could you? How could you stop trying to go there? Stop trying to make this ship happen. Mosk and Karn are they're blood brothers. They're the best. They are the best. And I knew you would get thrilled seeing them in this show. And I saw them and I was excited. I'm like, hell yeah. Because I thought they would really mess up. But really, spoiler alert, they really don't mess up anything.
No, Bubba, at some point, I think it was later on than this, at some point I realized, why have we been saving and moving Syril along this whole season? So that when it came to the end and Cassian was in a corner, Syril would do something wrong to spring him free. Now, I was completely wrong about that, but it would have been in character for Syril to have been saved just to screw everything up.
As happy as I was to see Syril Karn and Linus Mosk together on the the subway ride into town, I wrote in the show notes, I was like, good friggin' grief. Why is this guy who Cassian owes credits to part of this mess? I'm pretty sure we only saw him in episode 1, maybe episode 2, and he hasn't been around since then. Why are we bringing him back into the story? Enough is enough.
No, we need more complications. There aren't enough people looking for Cassian in the right place.
Oh, my goodness gracious. Now, Luthen runs into Vel. I don't know if this was planned or not, but they run into Vel in town, and he's like, listen, they're going to take Cassian if they capture him to the hotel. We need Cinta move from Maarva's house to the hotel. We got to take out Cassian. Is Luthen right? Is this the right move? You've got to take down Cassian. What does Cassian really know? He knows Vel's name. He knows Luthen's name and his ship, I suppose. But really, what could Cassian
and he also
give
knows,
up?
He knows what Luthen looks like as well.
Okay, all right, that's true.
You think they don't? First of all, not only are they're going to probably blast his face and name across the galaxy, he's right there selling goods to the creme de la creme of the Coruscant society. It's not like he's hiding out.
I'm going as far as you do, but this is a galaxy with hundreds of thousands of billions of people. So, okay, I'll just go with you. Why will I go with you?
Come on, they found Cassian when he hid out in a very oh no, he came right back to the planet they were all waiting for him on.
Hold on. It doesn't matter what I'm thinking, because when the dude up in the tower starts banging on the anvil, it is high noon in Ferrix.
Holy
heck yeah, is this not tense? And then the band is warming up. This
is the thing, Bubba. This is the thing. Is like we had gotten very smartly some information earlier that didn't seem like exposition, but turned out to really help us here. Okay, we said they could be 30s. They asked for 40. We gave them 40. We said, they want to start later on. Right. None of that is what's happening. We can see as this is setting up, holy cow, there's way more people. It's happening earlier than they said there was going to. And I'm trying to, Bubba, I was thinking they need to pep up the music a little bit. I mean, it sounds like a funeral dirge. Oh, wait. All right. Well, but again, just to get you excited for later, Matt Murdock has a great explanation about that.
Okay.
So I'm trying to think, Bubba, before this starts, whether they had a plan to sort of confront these people. It feels like there isn't really a plan to really take action until Maarva gives her speech and the dude with the cape decides to wait until she's done riling them up to stop her speech. So maybe this was just like, this is one of our own and we just got to come out. But it feels like they don't have an intentional plan to have a conflict, but they should know that there's going to be a conflict. So that was a little unclear to me.
I think what you can take from it is Brazos and his team had a plan of, hey, we're going to grab B2 Emo and we're going to play this message to let everybody know that they need to wake up and not be asleep. But then we're getting out of Dodge. Like, it feels like that was the plan was. Admittedly, the guy with the bomb does show up on the ship at the end with Brazos. But throughout the whole day, it didn't feel like Brazos knew, okay, this guy's going to throw a bomb.
So it feels like you're kind of in the same place as I am, where it wasn't quite clear what their plan was to sort of thumb their nose at the Imperials without a full plan to attack, which is also a suicide mission.
Well, I think even just playing Maarva's message is a bit of a suicide message, right? Like, you are rubbing it in the Empire's face right up against.
Right. But what I'm saying is there were a bunch of people who didn't know about the message and still decided, okay, we're going to gather for this, even though we haven't been approved to gather for this.
True. Let's set the stage. Cassian is in his hiding spot. He sees Luthen. The guy who Cassian owed money to, he's working with the spy. They go into the hotel. And he's like, I know where Cassian is. Maarva's brick is being marched forward. And so the guy does know where Cassian is, but I think because Cassian saw Luthen, Cassian left his hiding space and said, okay, now's my chance to free Bix. And it is just crazy. And as Dedra is grabbing troops to go catch Cassian, that's when Syril sees his lady.
Oh my God, Bubba. And he says, she's here. It's her.
Man.
And Linus is like, what am I, chopped liver?
I love it. This, once again, it's just tension building. They're marching down Rix Road, more and more people, as you're saying. That's not 30 or 40. This is about how many people were on Anto Krieger's mission that got killed. This number. Luthen would say there were 5 people at the funeral.
It's funny that you mention that because I see Luthen looking at this and he seemed to have excitement on his face. Mm-hmm. And Bubba, I thought his excitement was, oh my God, look at all these amazing people who are going to die and further my cause.
Terrible. Now, Catfish, you put in the show notes that you thought this moment here where the rubber meets the road and where the funeral procession meets the Empire Gate, you called it like the infamous protests in China where you would see someone standing up to those tanks. I mean,
those tanks, at least that we saw, did not fire. And we know that's not going to happen here.
Oh, I loved it. Dedra gets to the place where she thinks Cassian is. It's up a ladder. And I'm thinking to myself, there's no way a death trooper in that armor is going to be able to climb up that ladder. So they make the spy climb up there. He's not there. Why? Because Cassian is breaking into the Empire's base, this old hotel. This is also intercut. I mean, it's just too crazy. B2's hologram of Maarva's message comes. And she was 6 years old when she touched one of these bricks before. And in her message, it is powerful. That music makes it powerful. I'll just read a little bit. Maarva says, I want you to go on. I want Ferrix to continue. We've been sleeping. The Empire is a disease that thrives in the darkness. We need to wake up and catch him. Hell yeah, baby. And Luthen looks like he's being affected by this message. Bix is being affected by it. I love it.
Yeah. I mean, the only problem, like I said, about the guy with the cape, you know, he's like, he's listening to the speech. And he's like, all right, a little more gasoline, a little more gasoline. I'm going to add a little more gasoline. All right, now I'll throw the match in to put this gasoline out.
He couldn't have had anybody else, somebody more competent do it. How about have your stormtroopers blow up the droid? No, I'm going to use my personal mini cape to cover up the hologram.
I mean, read the room. Things are getting hostile. Oh my God. And then amazing, a lot of respect to Maarva here. Brasso uses her, aka her brick, to beat somebody on the head.
Love it. Cassian gets Bix out of jail, but her brain...
Now that's what I thought you were talking about when you said brain and brick. I thought that's what I thought you meant here is Brasso's braining brick.
Or how about babbling Bix because she has been brainwashed?
Oh my God. Yeah, she is just going on.
And then Bomb Dude, he's had enough. He throws his bomb. Goodbye funeral. Hello riot. Hell yeah. Now remember Luthen a couple episodes ago, he described himself as a coward. And I was ready for Luthen to join in the action, but he was a coward. He saw that and he said, I'm getting out of here. Man, come on.
Oh my God.
Your boy
Mosk, what I like to call
Mosk
smart.
went down. Brazos was headbutting a dude while Luthen's turning tail and running. Come on, let's go.
Oh, and our boy Xanwan, he gone. He gets what he gets. Was so delicious.
How about getting what he deserves? How about that Imperial spy who thinks he's caught Cinta and instead he catches a blade?
Oh man, he gone.
Bye-bye, spy. The most important thing is that B2 Emo is saved. Hell yeah.
Thank God.
But maybe more important for those of us who love ships, Dedra takes one to the head, man. She is knocked down. She is in trouble. There's only one person who would risk life and limb to save his beloved. Catfish, take us through the scene of true love.
So he pulls her out, and she is breathless as she should be anytime she sees Syril, but she's breathless because she almost got stomped and killed to death. So she is at her wits' end, and she says, I should say thank you. And he says, you don't have to. Oh my God, Bubba. Meet cute right here.
They need to just get married and have some little baby Nazis. I mean, let's go. These two.
Oh, man.
These two are so good. Now, all the couples are getting back together. Vel and Cinta get back together. Vel, oh, you're bleeding. It's fine. It's not mine. Cinta is stone cold. Vel, Cinta's a very cute woman, but Vel, I think you can find somebody maybe more your speed, more your interest. I mean, come on.
Oh, man. And then the Ferrix crew is split in town. Brasso, B2 Emo, Bomb Boy, the lady who's ready to shoot, Cassian and Vix. Bubba, these guys are all leaving town just like 2 seconds after Luthen. So also cowards?
Well, hold on. When Brasso's head butts maybe a stormtrooper, you think he headbutted somebody. When this is all over and we realize Bix has been, when the Empire realizes Bix has been freed, they are going to torture. Like we knew they did terrible things to the Aldhani after the Aldhani heist. What the Empire is going to do to the citizens of Ferrix is going to be terrible. And so I do feel bad about
Luthen so happy. But then Cassian said he's not going to go with them.
That was shocking.
And Bix says, Cassian will find us. And he says, I will. Pause. I'll find you.
He should have just done what I like to say. Later, losers.
And then we see, thank God, we need to know that the people we care most about in this show, we need to know that they're okay. So just like we saw Syril and Dedra, we see Sergeant Mosk sitting down. He's fine. He's also right now Double D. Deservedly drinking.
Oh, come on.
It's been a rough day. And then, Bubba, we have, I want our audience listeners to go back and watch this because I don't know if anybody else felt the way that I did, but Cassian goes in, Luthen walks in his ship. He knows there's something wrong. He's got his little robot there who doesn't say squat to him like, look up behind you. And he turns around. And Luthen says, what kind of game are you playing? And Cassian says, no game. He says, kill me.
Well,
pause. Or take me in. So, Bubba, I just thought in a normal experience, because he paused so long, he would have said, kill me. Blah! Oh, wait, or you'd take me in. And Luthen would be like, why did you pause so long?
Terrible.
Kill me or take me in.
I was sure that you were going to respond to Luthen's smile. It's a small smile. But when he hears that, he gives one of his classic creepy Luthen grins. No thoughts.
I was just too focused on how Cassian should have been dead. Knowing Luthen, someone says, kill me. You need to like very quickly explain to him the other option.
Right.
Or he's going to take you up on that first option.
Or what if he knew the blaster didn't work? He like put it there. He goes, kill me. Wait, I was going to say. Well, you wrote in the notes that Cassian's been radicalized. Who do you blame for this? Do you blame society, his life, the Empire, Nemec's manifesto? What do you think?
I mean, I think it is, but obviously, what he's seen, the conditions he's lived under this season. Also, just Maarva. It's everybody. And now he realizes Luthen is the guy who can help him achieve his plan. But also, he could have been more explicit with the take me in. Or take me in. You mean to the authorities?
Right, get that reward that I've heard about. Hey, guys, I found Axis. Catfish. Let's get to the post-credit scene just so we can quickly talk about it. Sure enough, what were those prisoners on Narkina 5 building? They were building the Death Star. I got my new issue of Star Wars Insider showed up in the mailbox this morning, and it had Grand Moff Tarkin on the cover. He is getting ready to build his Death Star. He's ready.
Wow, Bubba, this is, I mean, we talked about what are they making? What are they making? And, you're usually kind of think longer range about these things when you ask a question. Sometimes I just ask a question and then move on with my life. Did you ponder any more deeply what they could have been making? Did you come anywhere close to this?
I thought it was the Death. It was something obviously for the Empire. I was trying to turn it into something crazy. Like as they're escaping from prison, they see that the thing they've been building, the Empire's just been dumping into the ocean because they don't really care about it. I was trying to give it some sort of terrible twist, but but I did think the Death Star. But I thought, wouldn't it be so brutal? Is you're like, well, we've been building this shit. What have we been building? Oh, they just been dumping it. They just keeping us busy.
Holy cow! I love it.
Listeners, what did you guys think? Where do you want it to go? And I want to ask you, Catfish, I know we get to our games normally right now, but before we get to our games, I do want to ask, what's the next step in this journey? Because I think there's a chance that like the next episode, the first episode of season 2, is actually going to be a 1-year time jump forward. So it's not like going to be the next day after they escape from this riot on Ferrix. I'm pretty sure they've said in interviews that they're going to be 1 year forward. Any thoughts of where you want that next episode to begin?
Well, that makes a lot of sense. I mean, now that we have seen Cassian come to this place, I don't think we want to see him, start to become a member of the Resistance. We want to pick him up when he's already been doing things for the Rebel Alliance. He's moved up. He's moved up in the world. He's now above Vel.
Oh, wow. Could you? How could you? Listeners, what do you want to see? What do you feel?
How many children will Syril and Dedra have had by the time we start season 2?
Oh, I can't wait till we jump forward and we see them. I'm trying to figure out. Right. So it's 5 years till A New Hope from this point. And then A New Hope is 3 years to Empire. Then it's 1 year to Return of the Jedi. That gets us to 9 years. Then The Mandalorian is set, I think, 5 years after Return of the Jedi. So that gets us to 14 years. Could we cut and see Syril and Dedra's 14-year-old kid show up on Mando?
Oh, my God. I love it. By then, he could have Mon Mothma as a step-grandmother.
Oh, so good. So good. Hey, okay. But we're already turning silly, as we always want to do. Catfish, take us to the games.
All right. Our first game is the Mandolicisious line of the episode, the most delicious, either funny or badass line.
Okay.
And Bubba, this week I have just all badass. If you have any funny, I'm ready for you to pitch it to me. But otherwise,
give me your lines, then I'll pitch you mine.
All right. Perrin saying in the back of the car, Someone's lying to you. And Mon Mothma says, on that, we can agree.
Oh, so good. That's kind of funny, Catfish. That's pretty good.
And Partagaz replying to Dedra. Dedra's like, we needed information. And Partagaz says, today was about wiping the taste of Aldani from the Emperor's mouth.
Love it. Hell yeah.
And then, of course, I mentioned already, is when Dedra says, I should say thank you. And Syril says, you don't have to. Hashtag hero. I mean, trying to say such a bold line as that while wearing a duck hunting hat. Very, very bold. And then, of course, Bubba, you said some lines from it. I just thought Maarva's whole speech was the Mandolicisious Lines of the episode.
I would and should vote for the Dedra Syril exchange where she says, I should say thank you. And he says, you don't have to. Being in love means never having to say thank you. But instead, I'm going to go for the funniest line of the episode, the one that made me smile and laugh for just hours on end. She's here. Syril's she's here. That's all I needed. The Mandolicisious line of the episode.
It's her. So all right. Well, now we're going to go into quadruple M.
What, did you name yours?
Oh, you went sorry. With Maarva. Mine is, I said Maarva. Maarva's whole speech.
All right. Well, take us to the next thing.
Matt Murdock's musical Mandolicisious. Let's hear that.
Hey, everybody. Matt here. What a great finish to season 1 of Andor. Can't wait for the next season. Did not think that I was going to be invested in this show at all when we first started. And it turns out I was completely wrong. Probably the most invested I've been in a Star Wars show. Much more than The Mandalorian, much more than Obi-Wan, much more than Book of Boba Fett. So much so that the one thing that drives me absolutely crazy, and that is the intonation of instruments, didn't even bother me. When the funeral band played the main theme at the beginning, I was like, what is this? Is this somebody just allowing their kids' high school band to play the theme as kind of an inside thing? And then as the episode became apparent, and it is the band that's playing the funeral, playing the main theme at the beginning, it made more sense. But that's going to be the focus, at least the main focus of my talk today, and that is how there's some really great metaphor in using this band in this way in this episode to represent Ferrix itself. If you noticed all of the instruments that the band was playing, they looked like really weird, messed up versions of instruments that we know, of clarinets, of flutes, of French horns, and such. But one thing that even an out-of-tune marching band kind of sound always produces is a sense of community. When Americans go to high school football games across the country, they often hear bands playing like this, playing this out of tune. But why does that feel more uncomfortable to us than if they were playing perfectly in tune? Well, one reason is the fact that our ears perceive sound waves, and our brain perceives some of those sound waves that we don't even interpret consciously. When two pitches are trying to play the same note, but they don't quite hit the exact same frequency, that's when intonation gets disrupted. And what happens is the waves, because they don't line up perfectly, parts of them cancel each other out. It can actually create a great effect if everybody is very closely in tune with each other, because those cancellations are further apart and the waveform seems stretched out and it makes things seem bigger than they are. This is why when you hear some recordings of vocalists in pop or rock or whatever, you'll hear that there's actually two of the same voice singing the line. It makes it feel bigger, not because of quantity, but because of the slight difference in intonation. On the other hand, when you go the other way, there are more crossings of the waveforms. They're still very close to each other, but the crossings happen because the pitches are a little bit further apart. And so you're getting more instances of one wave than the other. And you get to a point where those cancellations don't even register as cancellations anymore. They just start to sound awful. But the metaphor here is that no matter how disorganized society may seem, there can be a unifying principle. And in this case, a unifying principle is the piece of music. It's very organized. And so the metaphor extends to the fact that no matter how afraid of people are, no matter how beaten down their instruments are, no matter their proficiencies at the instrument or at life or at whatever, an organizing principle, which was Andor in this episode, as well as the music that the band was attempting to play, can become stronger than the sum of its parts. That's what music is all about, for a band to become something larger than the sound of its parts. Love it. And I'm not going to play any music for you today, but I just want you to listen to every time Mon Mothma is on screen, at some point towards the end of her scene, we get the end of the Andor main theme as well. That's something that's happened several times throughout the course of the season. I never really mentioned it because I've just figured you all would identify the main part of the theme, but there is a difference. The end of the theme actually goes to the dominant 5 chord, which makes it lead into something else, or makes you feel like it's going to lead into something else. Whereas any other time with the Andor theme played with any of the other characters, you either get a resolution back to the root, which feels settled, or to the 4 chord, which feels hopeful, or to the flat 6 chord, which feels ominous. Only with Mon Mothma do we get resolutions that end on the 5 chord, the dominant chord, the chord that makes us say, hey, wait a minute, is there something else? And it makes for a great dramatic effect to lead into the next scene, or to tell us that Mon Mothma's story still needs to go somewhere. And that was a really sneaky way to throw the Empire off her money trail, was it not? Basically turning Perrin into a character from Two for the Money, right? She's making it sound like he's saying, I'm gambling again. Hope you got that reference. Anyway, back to Bubba and Catfish.
Oh, man. You know what? Matt enjoyed it so much, he did a quintuple M here.
What? Quintuple
Matt
M?
Murdock's musical analysis metaphors.
Yeah.
And you know what, Bubba? I loved his explanation so good, noting that the band was more tense because they were out of tune. That is the kind of, and the in-depth on that is why Matt Murdock is so important to this podcast.
Well, I was going to say, what that proves is that my college band really put out a lot of tense music. Thank you so much, Matt. If you guys love Matt, be sure to follow him on Twitter at Musical Concepts. Check out his podcast like Before the Dragon and Bustin' Blockbusters. Brilliant insight, not just on music, but on great shows. Catfish, it is time for Grief Karga's, not Keef Karga's, but Grief Karga's Bounty Hunter Guild battle. What is the battle over this week?
All right, Bubba. Now, this calls for a little projecting. Okay, because we do know when Cassian Andor is going to bite it, but we haven't seen any more of his adventures between now and Rogue One. Mm-hmm. At the end of his life, does Cassian end up saving more rebels or killing more rebels? This includes whatever portion of the Death Star that he built that wiped out Princess Leia's planet.
I'm going to say that because he helps get the plans for the Death Star so they can blow up the Death Star, that he ends up saving more lives that way. But to take the other side of the argument, mm-hmm. I can understand how you would be like, well, it was really Cassian's Aldhani job that pushed the Pord program, which probably caused a lot of people to die and suffer bad. And certainly breaking Bix out of prison is going to make what happens on Ferrix terrible. So I see those, and I see what you're saying about the Death Star killing billions of people on Alderaan. But because he did the work to allow the rebels to blow up the Death Star so no other planets would be destroyed until Starkiller Base 30 years later, I'm giving Cassian saving lives. And that's for you, Sean Gregan. That is a good argument. You better not attack my argument in the Bounty Hunter Guild battle.
I mean, I feel like Sean's been nothing but fair. This season, you really have not put forth your best effort. You've had 12 episodes to do it. I think you might have finally cracked it here, but I'm just going to say I'm going to use all the evidence you gave to say that Cassian, in the end, is Luthen's true best boy because he ends up breaking a lot of eggs. That is rebels and innocent people more than he saved.
Listeners, please, one time, throw me a bone. Prove that by ensuring the Death Star could be destroyed, Cassian saved more lives. What am I going to say? I'm going to say at PHQ on Twitter and Instagram and the Hive Social, as well as Facebook.com/PHQ and YouTube. Leave those comments. Give us those likes. Give us those dislikes if you are sick of this silliness. What's up next?
All right, Bubba, it's Andor. What's that secret you're keeping? Andor. What's that secret you're keeping? What question do you want answered in the next episode, which is going to be season 2, episode 1, or what do you need explained to you about this episode? Bubba, would you like to answer first?
One of the questions that came up immediately is Dedra has done nothing but been correct in season 1. She's moved up, up, and up. And at the end of this episode, my first question was, how far is Dedra going to fall in the ISB for losing a valuable asset, allowing this riot to take place? I'm sure a number of Imperial troops were injured or died. How is the ISB going to take that out on the Golden Girl? And now the tarnished Golden Girl, Dedra. That was, honest to God, my first thought as soon as the episode ended. So that's my secret I'm wondering the show is keeping.
Wow, that is interesting. So you think that instead of Syril being Dedralized, which is respected and listened to, that Dedra might become Syrilized, and that is discarded.
She's going to get Blevened for sure.
Oh, man, she is going to get Blevened. All right, well, I want to know how our boy Cassian is going to get together with all the people he's left behind. Babbling Bix. I mean, I assume Cassie's not going to show up until she got her S together. Cassian's like, you're too much of a messy bee right now. I'm going to wait until you're fixed. Also,
yeah,
you know who else we got to come back to?
No.
He has got to meet up with his boy that he escaped from the prison planet with, who shows up in Rogue One.
No, he does. That's a great point. How about this? Again, there's going to be this 1-year time jump. Will Cassian know Mon Mothma at that point?
Ooh, I think Luthen's going to try to keep these people apart as long as they can. And I know this is going to sound crazy. And maybe I've just been burned too many times from too many horror movies and other kind of shows. But you know what?
What?
There's a certain person we did not see die or jump off and drown in the prison escape. And so I still believe, mainly just because of his name, we have not seen the last of Andy Serkis.
Oh, man. This will be fascinating. Listeners, we love your feedback. Tell us what you think to our questions. What questions do you have for Andor Season 2? And because we love listening to listeners, if that isn't a successful sentence, let's get to your feedback right now. And so, Catfish, read this first one.
Yes, let me read it. So delicious. From Twitter, Sean Gregan at Hey Ref. ZOMG Bounty Hunter Challenge. Has Bubba been right anytime this season? In the words of Bandit, negatory, good buddy, negatory. It's not that I don't want aliens and droids. B2 emo has been great, but like Catfish, for me, it means attempted comedy, not always successful, rather than drama and action, which Andor has done well. Droids and aliens have been handled well this series. I'm still haunted by how bad Jar Jar was. Forehead slap emoji. You might call it a blasphemy, but it's a reality check, Bubba. And with some of your arguments on the Bounty Hunter Challenge this season, it's way overdue.
How could you? Now, the one thing I'll say is all season long, I've been pestering our poor viewers to tell them to vote in the Bounty Hunter Guild Challenge.
Yeah.
Listeners, you've given us a lot of great feedback, but this might be the only one specifically that answered a Bounty Hunter Guild Challenge. And so I have to bow down.
You're 0 for 11, Bubba.
Right, I have to bow down to Sean. If he's the only one who replied, then Sean is right. No aliens or droids in the show. Perfect. I agree. You win.
Yeah, Sean and I are we're gonna host an online intervention for you regarding Jar Jar.
How dare you? How dare you? Now, we put out a tweet this morning that because Brasso really became a internet hero after this episode. So we said it's time for a double PHQ podcast face-off. We've got Andor's Brasso, who is Cassian Andor's good buddy.
You said Brazos like half the times in this episode anyway. Yeah,
and then we've got Only Murders in the Building's Brazos, who is a TV character played by Steve Martin. So which one you got? You got Brasso or Brazos? Catfish, any vote on which one you like of the two?
I mean, I love me some Brasso. He's a badass dude, but come on, I'm sorry. I'm a man of a certain age. Steve Martin is still bringing the funny. I got to give it to Brazos.
Well, we just put this poll out. It literally is too soon to see, but currently you are correct. Steve Martin is winning with 77% of the vote compared to 23% of the vote for the man of the moment, Brasso. So,
well, our good buddy Sean Gregan also disagrees with you again.
Oh, no.
I won't say that he's disagreeing with me. We're going to leave that out of it. He says this is easy and you never have to ask me questions like this again, because if it's anything from Andor, literally anything, Merrick's hat, young Cass's face paint, anything is better than anything else on TV this decade.
Hell yeah. Thank you so much. Now, once again, this episode hasn't even been out 12 hours. We're recording this early because here in the States, there's a Thanksgiving holiday. But we do have a lot of great feedback about episode 11, so let's get to that. Somebody who was a bit on my side last week in the rating is a great person over in Great Britain, Dooley's Left Legs, who's at Dooley's Left Legs on Twitter. He said episode 11 was a little disappointing, except for the death in the episode and B2 Emo's stuttering mourning. Nothing happened in his opinion. He did like the two alien fishing bros a lot and their speech pattern, but he considered episode 11 a boring setup episode. What do you think, Catfish? There's somebody who finally agrees with me. I love Dooley for this.
All right. Well, I mean, I feel like you have taken a lot of L's this episode. Yeah. And, you do the great majority of work on this podcast. So I'm happy that finally someone agrees with you a little bit.
Okay. What other feedback we get?
All right. We got on YouTube from Tyler Lewis. I look forward to the Parsec Passion Podcast almost as much as I do Star Wars. Hopefully Mando is right around the corner. How far is that corner away, Bubba?
End of February 2023. And that is the nicest thing to say, Tyler. Thank you so much. We got feedback on Instagram this week. Alex wrote, and he was predicting what would happen in this episode. He said, maybe in episode 12, Cassian is escaping Dedra's grasp, but that could lead to her turning to Syril for help. She has turned him down and is determined to handle the situation herself. But if Dedra suffers a setback, that could lead to the two teaming up and becoming a duo in season 2. Exactly right, Alex. Yeah. Exactly right.
Hell yes. If this was solving Magpie murders, Alex would have solved it.
I know. Alex knows all. Hey, we've loved your feedback all season long. And because of that, Catfish, what are we going to do right now to these loyal listeners?
Holy cow. We are going to give out some Mandalorian themed t-shirts. These are awesome. I am so excited. We got these from the Star Wars Celebration in Anaheim. They are so awesome, and I've been holding on to them for just this moment. And so this we're going to do, we've got, Bubba, you've got a list, and we're going to pick out 3 names from this list, Bubba.
Whoa.
Are you ready? Okay. The first name is LaRote from YouTube.
Oh, LaRote has given us comments on many podcasts. So, LaRote, if you hear this, reach out on YouTube, ping us, and we will get your address, and we'll send you one of these Star Wars Celebration shirts.
Oh,
congratulations.
My God. Awesome job, LaRote. Okay. All right. And the next person to get one of the shirts is someone with a completely different name, and that name is Bucho.
Oh, my goodness. Our buddy Bucho. We love Bucho is another person who's been commenting on multiple podcasts, really talks a lot on our Game of Thrones podcast. Thank you so much, Bucho. Once again, reach out. We'll get one to you down under. Oh, Catfish, you remember Bucho's down in New Zealand.
Oh, I'm going to love sending that shirt out to them. All right, Bucho. It's been Bucho. It's been LaRote. Our last winner is Hamlet is Dead. Another good long-time listener. I'm so excited that, sometimes we have given out some of the prizes to some of our not long-time listeners, but the numbers of what they are. But this time, so great. Hamlet is Dead, LaRote, and Bucho. You get T-shirts. This is so exciting.
Thank you so much. Just reach out to us, send us your mailing address, and we'll get them out to you. Now, all season long, we've been talking about our rating, where we're going to rate all the Star Wars shows now in order of how much we love them. But because this is going to take so long, listeners, we're going to make this a separate, unique podcast. So be sure to watch the YouTube channel, watch your podcast feeds. We're going to record it now, but we're going to release it in a couple of weeks, and we're going to talk about our rating. For everybody here at Parsec Passion Podcast, my name's Bubba. You can reach me on Twitter at Fit and Trim. That's FITTENTRIM at Fit and Trim on Twitter and Instagram.
And I am Catfish. You can hit me up at CJGman67 on Twitter and GEETOTHEMANG to the man on Instagram. Whoa. And we will talk to you next time on
Cassian. I'm going to run like a coward. What are you doing on my ship? I'm running. Wait, kill you? Okay, hold on. I could kill you quickly or I could kill you slowly. I'll kill you slowly, first with a smile. Creepy Luthen smile.